Hey everyone, this is Seth Colliner for HotHardware.com, and today we're going to have a look at the iBuyPower Revolt small form factor gaming PC. We've seen a lot of very cool looking small form factor gaming PCs recently, but this one is the most powerful we've seen yet. It has an Intel Core i7 3770K CPU with an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 670 GPU. For storage, there's a combination of a 1TB Western Digital Caviar Blue 7200 RPM drive with 120GB Intel 330 series SSD. There's 8GB of G-Skill DDR3 1600 RAM inside, but for whatever reason, iBuyPower decided to go with a single 8GB DIMM. Usually you'd see a 2x4GB DIMM setup, but that's what we have to deal with here. Now, one final very cool feature of this particular machine is that there is an NZXT Kraken X40 liquid cooling system with a 140mm radiator inside. For as small as this chassis is, it's really impressive that iBuyPower managed to fit all those components into one box. With the system powered on, we can get a better look at the lighting system and overall design of the chassis. You'll note that this is a very sharp white on black design, and in fact the entire case is made of plastic. There's an interior metal frame, but everything else is plastic, which we suppose is both good and bad. On the one hand, it's a flimsier material than metal, but on the other hand, you don't have to worry about a paint job because the parts come already cast the correct color. You can see here that Revolt is lit up in white, and there's also a white backlit power button. Now you might think that this is a reset button, but in fact it's a light switch. You can toggle from pulsating red to pulsating green to pulsating blue, and of course you can set it so that it rotates between all three colors. In addition to the power button and the light switch, you can see that there's also a slot loading DVD drive, an SD card slot, a pair of USB 3.0 ports, and headphone and mic jacks. Here on the back panel you can see that we actually have 4 additional USB 3.0 ports, another pair of USB 2.0 ports, and an eSATA port. There's the good old tried and true PS2 port, a clear CMOS switch, and audio jacks. Down on the graphics card you can see there are 2 DVI ports as well as an HDMI port. Now when you look at the benchmark scores for the iBuyPower Revolt, you'll notice just how powerful this machine is. However, one thing about this system that we're not in love with is how difficult it is to work on. Now we're going to pull it apart and look inside and you'll see what we're talking about. First, I already took out these 2 screws back here, and then I can just pop the side panel off, being very careful not to damage any of these plastic tabs. Now I'll just disconnect one lead and I can get to work. Now before I can do anything else, I need to take off this panel, and I'm going to do that by removing these 2 screws right down here. With the screws out, I can move that panel back, and now I actually have access to the motherboard down here. Now you'll notice it's still too small of an opening for me to be able to do anything. I can see the DIMM and I can see the water cooling system, but I can't actually work on it yet. Before I do that, I'm going to have to take out the PSU. I took out 2 screws here, and these 2 screws holding on this bracket. And now I can actually move the PSU out of the way. I still have to get rid of this panel, and to do that I'm going to have to take out 2 screws here, 2 screws here, and actually remove the optical drive. Now that I've removed the optical drive, which also required me to remove the front panel, and I've taken out these 4 screws, I can finally remove this tray and gain access to the graphics card, the motherboard, and the cooler. The iBuyPower Revolt is not an easy system to work on, but it is a high-performing beast of a thing wrapped in a very small package. I'm Seth Colliner for HotHardware.com, and you're looking at the guts of the iBuyPower Revolt small form factor gaming system.